Today's episode is sponsored by Raul Rodriguez Law.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back inside the Leija Lounge. Today, we got a lot to cover. We got new things with the Spurs. We got Coach Pop officially stepping down, handing over the reins. We have boxing that we got to react to. Canelo, he just announced his fight with Bud Crawford. He just fought this past weekend in a very boring fight, I would say. We got a lot to cover, but first, let's start with Coach Pop. Dad, I want to start with you. What was your kind of reaction to seeing Pop in that press conference? First time we had seen Pop since his stroke. Anybody seen Pop since his stroke? What was your reaction to that whole press conference?
It was tough, but I kind of knew already beforehand, only because I have a client who's really close with him and was telling me some things about, he was kind of telling me that Pop's doing well and he's doing fine, but wasn't really telling me how he was as far as physically. And when I saw that physically, I said, okay, that explains why he's not going to be able to. And Pop's a proud guy, very proud guy. But, him being in that state, you can see why he was not going to keep coaching but step down as president. But, it's hard to, because we all know Pop. We know him well. He speaks to us and talks to us whenever we're training the guys. Just a very good guy, and it was hard to see him in that position because we all know Pop as the tough leader, the Spurs coach for almost 30 years now, and it's almost like seeing your uncle or your dad.
Like, for me, is like kind of seeing your pet of 18 years getting up off the couch and you see this real slow moving, and it's just you're like, oh man, you just feel for him. It was tough it was a tough watch, but. He wrapped up his press conference in Pop fashion where he refilled at Jefe and showed off his new job title. But again, it was an emotional press conference.
It's like an uncle,
it's like a family member that you don't want to see age.
And on top of that, I feel like Pop, what he stands for, what he represents, what he teaches, his way, it's almost a pillar of San Antonio, right? It's strong, it's classy. It's one of those things that I feel he represents San Antonio very well. So I feel like that's one of our pillars, right? Coach Pop, what comes with being in San Antonio, with the San Antonio way, not just of sports, but also carrying and how we conduct ourselves. He set the precedent for that, of stopping the game to tell people to stop booing Kawhi at the line. Like, that's not who we are. Things like that, right?
He promotes excellence.
Yeah, and I would say being classy, right?
Yeah.
Holding your
class,
being in an elevated state, and always being intentional with your movement. You know what I mean? And to see somebody like that, who is in high regard here in the city, to be moving that way, to he's not 100%. To just see that, right? Being vulnerable enough to be that was or to be there talking. That was tough. It wasn't the easiest thing. What were your views, Mark? What do you think?
I mean, I don't know him as well as you guys do, and but like a lot of San Antonians, we remember the days when the Spurs were good. We had some bad years. We were trying to get over home by beating LA in the playoffs, and that didn't happen. And then there was a shift that happened. Right, the Admiral gets in here. Then a few years later, we end up getting Popovich as it comes to San Antonio under Larry Brown. Then he takes off for a little bit. Then he comes back as a GM And then in short order that season, he takes over as head coach from.
He appointed himself as head coach.
Well, that's true. Yes, he did, and I mean, and he could. He was a GM.
Yeah, in typical like semi-pro fashion, right? Where it's like GM, coach, owner.
Yeah.
Like, I'm coach now.
Yeah, but that, and I remember when that happened, everybody's like, okay, what's this going to be all about, right? And how's this going to play? But let's hope for the best, right? And then you get the arrival of Tim Duncan shortly after that. I mean, it just, and then from there it just took off. And then all you boys know, is the Spurs winning with Popovich at the helm.
We only know the Spurs way.
Yeah.
The classic basketball, find the open shot, 10 passes.
Yeah.
That's what we know. That's what we grew
There's
up
5 reasons. There's 5 reasons to love the Spurs. 99, 03, 05, 07, 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, it's a model franchise.
And the thing is, being respected too. We're not the coach. He teaches his guys to be respectful and to play the game in the right way, but not only in the court, off the court as well. They have to conduct themselves the same way, because if not, he doesn't want them on the team.
Yeah. No, I mean, he
that's
exudes
a lot,
that. And I've seen it just like we all have, and everybody has. I mean, you see all the videos on social media, they're popping up, and you have the other athletes that, not just basketball athletes, you're talking, international soccer stars that know of Popovich, have met him, other coaches and others, sports that revere this man, and how it's like a fraternity too. He does take those calls. He will visit with other coaches, and they'll strategize. And what's your secret to organization? How do you deal with a difficult player? How would you, somebody who thinks they're a diva, and you have this young up and coming person? How do you? And so he was very open in talking to other professional coaches about all of that stuff. So you hear a lot of that backstory now, but me seeing him at that press conference, I got a ping on my phone, the Spurs are going live to announce Mitch Johnson. So I went ahead and just watched the whole thing and saw Pop got it. But like you guys, it was the first time that we've seen him. And it took me a little bit to just kind of comprehend what I was seeing.
Yeah.
But what I did see was a very prideful man who's working his ass off to get back, and probably really still wanted to coach. And
I think it's the Kobe effect, right? Yeah. Where you see this guy who's the top of his profession, and you admire the way he goes about work, and you see how it bleeds into his life, right? He approaches everything. The way he does anything is the way he does everything. And that's admirable, right? That's why it crosses the generations. It crosses the sports lines. Not just basketball, but other athletes admire how he approaches the game, how he approaches his life, his mentality, his mindset.
We got to remember, though, like he's not on the bench, but he's not going anywhere.
No.
He's still going to be a strong,
he
force.
might have more hands on. He might have. He may be running more.
You saw him take his jacket off. He's still with it. So I don't think we're really losing much. Mitch Johnson, say what you want about him. A lot of people like him. A lot of people don't like him. He's been on the coaching staff for 10 years, so he's not a stranger to the Spurs organization.
I mean, we all remember that summer league when the Spurs won,
right,
with Becky at the head, and he was there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? So it's not like we're losing Pop in what Mitch Johnson might lack in head coach experience. It's just gonna turn over to Pop. Say, hey, Pop, what do I do? So it's people were like, oh, we should have gone like Mike Malone. Different head coaches that were available. We don't go outside the Spurs.
But
Spurs
that's the
branch.
Spurs way, and I think in a way it was the right move.
Yeah, I like it. I'm happy with it.
And if you're a Spurs fan, I mean, really, you have to trust what they're doing.
Trust in
How
our
could
team.
you not?
How could you not by now, right?
Right. And if you still challenge, I mean, I guess it's okay to challenge things. I mean, right? It's okay, but
It's 5 reasons to trust them.
it's a minimum. It could have been more.
Yeah.
But you
been
just
6
have
reasons.
to
Should've
have
been 6
belief
reasons.
in what they're doing, and they unanimously made this decision as the right thing.
Some people don't realize this, or maybe some do, but they've said it before, is that how strong the Spurs are as an organization is that there's probably 15 teams in the NBA that have a coach or assistant coach that have come through the Spurs, if not more.
Yeah,
Could be a lot
it's
more.
a big tree.
It's a big tree.
I think they were saying
feed
they
into
were
the NBA.
combining. I think they were combining all the head coaching, assistant coaching years that Pop's touched or that the
and
Spurs have
and
touched.
GMs.
And GMs, and it was
yeah.
over 100 years
Wow.
of experience coming through the Spurs that are in the NBA right now.
Right.
It's weird, right? It's just like everything's branching off of us.
Or even players too. You know, like in Boston, they have coaches and players that have come from San Antonio, started in San Antonio.
You're right, Mark. It's a
everywhere.
fraternity.
It's a fraternity,
huge
man.
fraternity.
And you look at the presser that they had last week, you know, Houston and Golden State. The day that Pop announces that, both coaches show up at the post press conference with Popovich T-shirt on there. Which, what a great nod that was.
It's like wearing
right?
your university shirt, you know, like wearing your university hat or whatever.
Yeah.
I graduated from Popovich University.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely a big change in the regard. Like you said, me and my brother, all we know, I'm 34. All I've known is Pop, right? All I've seen is Pop and the Spurs way, and it'll be very interesting to see not like he's out by any means, but it'll be very, very interesting to see how things are changing. You know what I mean? It's just maybe the first direction or first step in a different generation of Spurs. You
We
know?
all knew this day was going to come. At some point in time, it happens to all of us, everybody, right? And change is inevitable. And I think that was a bitter pill there, seeing that happen, but nobody was surprised by it.
Yeah.
And you know, you're right. He's gonna be an awesome El Jefe behind the scenes, and just helping to direct where the Spurs are not going in the future. That gives them that clean slate to kind of just start in that role, right? I think he probably been doing that role for a while himself, kind of dual role, right? And then, you know, being that Yoda, that mentor master to Mitch Johnson, and I think it's going to be fine. I really truly do. Yeah. And he's going to let Mitch kind of. I don't think he's going to be that guy that, unless Mitch approaches him,
he's not going to be a helicopter dad.
He's not. He's not. It's like you got to grow in your own skin. This is Mitch's team. Yeah. He's got to figure it out.
Definitely.
I want to say Spurs in 6.
Spurs in 6. I mean, next year's gonna be very interesting. Very interesting. Still, you know, could have some possible moves be made. There's been names thrown out there with Durant, which won't happen.
Why won't it happen?
Because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Giannis,
which makes more sense.
It makes more sense, but it's not the Spurs way.
We have to give up a lot.
That's right? It's not the Spurs way.
Not the Spurs way. I agree.
So it's gonna be an exciting year. I'm looking forward to Pop Night. You know, the merchandise that might come out, the Pop bobblehead.
All the El Jefe shirts.
Oh yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of those.
This is probably the episode we should have busted out with everybody wearing El Jefe shirts.
That'll be the next one.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of hard pills to swallow, that the inevitable is coming. Canelo, right? The Canelo fight. Speaking of not looking like your former self and moving very different, Canelo took on Scull. His name's Scull. It looks like Scull, but it's Scull, right? In this fight this past weekend, on Cinco De Mayo weekend, and it did not look like the Canelo that we're used to seeing.
Canelo should have gone to school to fight him. You know, because again, I think everyone's like, yeah, he was running, but I made the same argument with Mayweather, and not comparing the two, but in terms of styles, Mayweather is a punch and move guy, kind of on the, you know, moving around a lot. If you don't like it, do something about it.
Exactly.
And Canelo, he's fought plenty of guys that have been on, you know, moving around, a lot of Trout, these guys that don't want to.
And those are all guys who didn't look good against.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's like, okay,
I think no one really looks good against guys that move like that. And this guy
can move.
Double that.
He can.
This guy had skates on.
He was on his motorcycle. He wasn't even on his bike.
Yeah, he had his boarding pass with him.
And it's hard to look. I've fought guys like that in the amateurs, even in pros, that just move like crazy. And you just.
But would you, if say you had a guy like that, and I'm sure you did, Canelo just allowed him to move.
Yes.
He just allowed him to move. Like he didn't even try to.
He wasn't block. He wasn't
cutting off the ring. Yeah,
but he's never that type of guy because those guys never move like that.
Right.
So he really never has to really chase guys down.
Yeah.
And this guy he really needed to, and he didn't do it.
But okay. So my other argument is if that guy's name was Terrence Crawford, who would win?
Yeah.
Who wins that fight?
Who would win that fight? Because I would have judged. I would have given a lot more rounds to Scull than Canelo.
I think one judge got it right, 115, 113.
Yeah.
That was probably my view.
Oh yeah, it was close.
That was my view.
I gave Canelo the fight, because he was landing the harder punches. He was throwing more punches
When he did throw.
The other guy was just really moving around, trying to not really throwing and landing a lot of punches. But I could see the argument of that's a boxer. He was trying but he wasn't putting on the clinic on
Do
Canelo.
something.
But that's
about
the
it.
whole thing, right? If in a fight like that, you got to kill the king.
Yes,
right.
but what did
That's
he?
true.
Yeah,
That's
what did
true.
he
That's
do?
true.
That's what I was just
That's
about to
true,
say.
yeah.
What did he do to win the fight?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He
But
didn't do enough, obviously.
Yeah.
not enough. But there's two, like my brother's saying, there's two different things here. If that guy's name was Terrence Crawford, which is that fight's gonna happen in September.
Yeah.
Let's say it happens the exact same way, because you know why? Terrence Crawford's job is not to stay in front of Canelo. That's not his job.
Yeah.
Canelo has to go find him, right? Crawford's not gonna. He could, but he's not just gonna stay in front of Canelo. Why would you? That's what Canelo wants. He's a power puncher. Why would you stay in front of him? That is the right way to fight this guy.
So it's a strategy, right?
is a strategy, right?
It's worked. I mean, you look at like my dad said, you look at all Canelo's past fights with movers. He had trouble with them.
Yeah, he's trouble with
He had
him.
trouble.
So
with
was this fight? Was it a mandatory that he had to fight this guy, or why?
No,
did
it
he
was.
pick
It was.
this fight?
So the whole thing about it is, and I'm gonna get to
them.
that.
That's
That's
a
the whole
That's a
thing.
good question.
To get to your question, the thing that I didn't like about this past weekend in Canelo was that after the fight, he said, "I hate fighters like this.
Yes.
I hate guys that fight this way." Well, you picked the guy.
Yeah.
You picked the fighter, and you knew how he fought. In my opinion, the reason why he fought this guy is because it's his first time fighting in Saudi Arabia. They have to have him win, right? They can't have him lose his first trip there, right? So they find this guy.
But wasn't this guy a champion too? Then he won.
I've
some
never heard
title.
of this guy.
Yeah, I know me either, but he had won some title.
sure he won
was
something.
Defeated at 20.
Yeah, he must.
He
have
won.
gotten
He won
name
his
in
the track meet. He won the
I
past
think
track meet.
I think he was an OBO champion, the other boxing organization champion.
But that's just the thing where it's like this guy must have done something to get to the show.
Yeah, you
right?
just don't get it.
But at the same time, if you're Canelo and you pick this guy and you say, "I hate fighters like this," there's Benavidez over here. There's guys over here that'll fight you, but you're not picking them. So you can't talk shit about the guy that you pick and that he doesn't fight you. You picked the guy.
Yeah.
And you knew what he was going to do.
Well, I think that probably
It-
you're right. But
Like
I
I
think
always say, you can't be mad when red is red and you thought it was green.
you were right.
Like,
But Canelo, he's a marketing genius too. So
but it only looks bad on him.
he's
But
just.
I
he's
think what
just
they were trying to do is have a
spitting
safer
out.
fight with the guy that's not going to hurt him or hit him.
To set him up for
And
Crawford.
maybe
Yeah.
I can get to him. I'll get to him at some point. He never did. But he
Yeah.
probably thought I'll figure him out and get to him.
That guy can
He's
move,
a move like
though.
crazy, but
Like,
this guy,
That's a guy to watch if you
Yeah.
want to learn how to move around the ring. You watch
Yeah.
this guy
Yeah.
because
This guy's got some
he
legs.
he has some
he
legs.
was
on him.
moving
But that's the
too
whole
much.
thing where, like,
he
I'm
floats like a butterfly.
I'm a Canelo fan, but I guess being in boxing every day, again, we go to the gym every day. It's different than the guy who's thinking about boxing on the weekend. You know what I mean? Who has another job, who's distracted by other things. Our job is boxing. We watch boxing. We do this every day. Every day. So when we look at it, you can see Canelo's flaws. You can see him getting slower. You can see him not being as aggressive. You can see him doing all these things.
He did look aged too, right?
He looked older.
on
His
that-
body
that-
looked a little-
his body
a
looked
little worn
He
down.
didn't look as
Not the same.
ripped. He didn't look any of that, right? So you can notice all these little things and just seeing him, right? Knowing where he's been and all of this. So he is slowing down, right? But at the same time, you got to take you. I mean, if this guy's not as good as you, if this guy's really like under your radar, why was he able to?
Well,
go
you know what?
12
I just thought
rounds?
about this now. I feel like, we found out about the Terrence Crawford fight immediately after. Canelo didn't. I mean, that's a quick turnaround for him to fight. Why would he engage in a tough fight where first of all, he's already going to get paid. Two,
It's probably 'cause he's getting 80
the
million.
guy's moving. The guy's moving. Okay, you know what? I could go in there, but you know what? I got this September fight that's bigger. Let me preserve my body. Let me make sure I don't injure myself. Maybe that could have been his
Yeah,
idea.
What about?
That's the
what
only thing
about-
I can think about.
I know Terrence Crawford's going to move on me. Let me find a guy that moves that way as well.
Yeah,
Let me
it's
get
a good-
used to
it was a good
trying to
tune-up.
get to guys like this.
was
And
a good
maybe you
tune-up.
don't always want to show everything against when Terrence
When the
Crawford's there.
guy's
Show him everything.
front row.
Just say, I got something for you. Just wait.
But
You
yeah,
think
and-
that's going to happen? I'm not going to fight this way.
Even then,
the
though,
second time.
Even then, though, this makes the perfect point that Rolly Romero, who also fought this past weekend, he just pulled a big upset against Ryan Garcia. He just made I saw him in an interview, and he was making the argument that a lot of these fighters are just fighting for the payday, right? Which obviously we all know that, but even Canelo, where like if you're saying if it's true, why am I, I'm getting paid $80 million anyway. Why am I gonna fight hard here? I'm thinking about the next one, right? And that's the current state of boxing.
Oh yeah,
That's the
Yeah,
current
that's
state of
definitely-
boxing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what
I'm not saying
ruining
Canelo's
things.
that's not. I'm sure that's not Canelo's mindset, but it's hard. I got to figure it out at that point because that performance was just it leaves you with a lot of questions.
How do you justify it?
At some point in time, it's like we talked about that little segment on Pop. At some point in time, we know it's going to happen. That it happens to every fighter. They just age. They're slower. They don't look the same. Of course they don't. It's your body, man. And you're older, yes. You're 10, 15 years into it. Yeah, you're going to
Canelo's
look.
34, right? 34.
No, he's older than me.
That's like
older than
60,
me.
70
He's
in
like
dog
36.
years.
Okay,
He's like
I
36.
thought he was like only a few months older than you.
No, he's older than me. He's like a year and a half.
Like 35, right?
He's pro at 15. He's 34 now. I think he's 34. 34,
No, he's older
35.
than me.
You're 34.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but the point is that we know this is going to happen. Does it happen with Crawford? Maybe. We don't know. But, and then everybody's talking about the Canelo might be the first $1 billion
I think
fighter.
I think
he's
already
ready.
reached-
He's probably ready
He's
there.
already reached that.
So that's, that's awesome. It happens. But now you're in the state where it's just a natural evolution with all these. You see it every fighter, right? But he's still fighting at the top of his game. People. Okay, maybe.
The top of the game's over here, and he's avoiding it.
Well-
Canelo. I'm a Canelo
but is there a
fan.
bigger draw in boxing right now?
Definitely.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who?
In a way, in my opinion, there's a lot of bigger fighters than Canelo.
Well, there's a lot of bigger matchups than what that were
matchups.
being given.
Okay, but right now, if you were to put, Canelo still prints
He
money.
he still has
is a
the,
money
He's a
guy.
face of
he still has
boxing.
the name in the
And
face,
he
yeah.
is. I guess where I'm going with all of this is that at what point is it? That's it, right? When it comes to that realization.
I mean,
don't know.
Mayweather's still fighting. You know what I mean? He can keep fighting. He can keep doing it. But the whole thing about it is like, and again, it's a skewed point of view, only because we're seeing boxing every day. It's not the weekend warrior who's gonna be like, well, yeah, Canelo's fighting. Let's turn it on, and let's not judge it. He's gonna win. Like we're gonna see that our guy win. It's different. It's a different point of view just because we're in that. We do that every day. That's our job, right? So we're critiquing. We're teaching kids what to do. We're teaching our clients and our fighters what to do, and they're looking up at Canelo and they're watching YouTube videos of Canelo, and it's hard to justify it on our end, right? It's hard to say like, well, he only threw, like these past 3 fights this weekend were the lowest producing punch rates in like boxing history in like 12-round fights. There was 3 fights this weekend that almost hit that almost hit that bar of like lowest punch count. And how do you justify that?
This
in a
past
12-round
weekend
fight?
was probably the biggest fights on paper that were going to happen in a long, long time.
back to back to
Yes.
Yeah, 3 days in a row of the best fighters, and they were all duds except
Sunday.
except
Sunday's
Inoue
fight.
and Ramon
Inoue
Cardenas.
and Cardenas.
But the whole thing about it is, I think all of these fights that happened before Sunday just laid an egg.
Yeah.
It was just like, it wasn't what it was supposed to be. Devin Haney, underperforming, throwing out only like maybe 100 punches in that fight. It's weird. It's just weird to see how you're saying they're at the top of the game, but are they? Like, are they really performing like that? Or are they fighting for money in
Or
Rolly
they're just
Romero's
chasing that money, yeah.
argument? Are they just chasing money, or are you
That's what
seeing
Rolly
good
said,
boxing?
right? He had said that.
Yeah, because he's saying, I'm beating Ryan Garcia. 'cause
Something's bad. Something crazy is happening when Rolly Romero's making sense.
He's making sense.
He's making sense.
That's totally wrong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But he's making sense.
But he's
to
saying,
that.
but even him, he's claiming I'm a genius. Like I knew Ryan Garcia. He pulled a big upset on Friday night in New York in Times Square, and dropping Ryan Garcia in the second round. And Ryan Garcia was on his bike, pulled a Scull, and he was just on his bike running the whole fight. And even Rolly Romero was saying he's just trying to get to the next fight with Devin Haney. He's just trying to get to that next fight. He's just fighting for money. I'm fighting for belts. I'm trying to put my best foot forward here. All these guys, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Canelo, all these guys are just fighting for checks.
Yeah.
And how do you argue that? How do you argue against that when that's what you see?
Yeah.
So from our point of view, when we're teaching kids how to box, when we're teaching all that stuff, it's kind of hard, right? I mean, Canelo's going to be Canelo no matter what. You're right. He's going to make his money. But what is he showing everybody? Maybe he don't care about that much, but still, it's just kind of
It's like teaching a kid how to throw a fastball. Say, no, watch this. Watch Clemens, Roger Clemens. He's gonna throw a mean one, and for the next game, he just holds onto the ball the whole on the mound the whole time.
he don't
Never
throw.
throws.
He don't pitch.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but this is why a lot of people say boxing is not
Yeah, it doesn't help.
It doesn't
This
help.
where,
It doesn't
where,
help the
where it
argument.
needs to be.
Yeah.
And those that follow UFC are saying, hey, man, we're excited of this partnership with Dana and Turk, what it's going to mean for the sport. I don't know. I mean, you hear pros and cons on both sides. One of the previous episodes we talked about that the money's not going to be that great. But if you look at UFC, a lot of the fights are very competitive.
Well,
Some are not.
because Dana keeps his fighters hungry.
Yeah.
So they have to fight.
So maybe
They
this
have to
happens
let
in
it out.
boxing. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean that's what
that's
Rolly
what
said too. Rolly said pay them
yeah.
less.
We've always talked about this. The 90s, the 80s and 90s of boxing was so good because
the glory
they were getting
years.
paid, but
Yeah.
you had to earn your way to get paid
You did.
first. Now they're just paying anybody, well, not anybody, but they're paying the top guys all the money.
There's probably an incentive to get better back in the day. Where
Yeah.
right now,
Well,
I'm getting
but
paid.
the-
Yeah,
but-
back then you had to fight and earn your way to get to the money.
Yes, James.
Right now they're giving you the money at the start.
Right, but the money from the 80s and 90s is not the same as what it is
Oh, of
today.
course not. No, of
That's
and
course
so
not.
and so
Yeah.
so the pie is bigger, and if you've got a great lawyer and a manager like you did, they're going to fight for you. So they're all fighting for their fight, saying, no. This is how much money this fight's going to bring in. No. We're driving this cart, right? So we
Yeah, but
need the
that's not
lion's
happening
share.
in
of it.
UFC.
That's not happening in UFC.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a different business model in UFC.
Yeah,
They do have some big names out there.
yeah, they make some big money, but not what a big fighter would make in boxing.
Well, I mean, you could say if McGregor,
Not
Ronda
even
Rousey,
then,
some
they
of
had
this.
they had performance bonuses
Yeah,
that are incentives to fight harder.
right.
You know what I mean?
And they make a
all
lot of
that.
their money on endorsements at UFC. That's the other thing too. Is that
Not only that, when they go when they're on the canvas, right? In UFC, MMA, when they're on the canvas and it's boring, the ref picks them up.
Right.
Stand up, right? How do you do that in boxing?
Yeah.
When the guys aren't engaging, how do you do that? You can't tell them, hey, come on, pick it up, fight.
Well, that's what the ref.
Man, that's why
the ref was saying that over the fights this weekend. Y'all got to fight.
And how good
I gotta fight.
how good was Jim Lampley during that whole thing?
Yeah.
He was like, there was no filter on him, and it was just, he let it, he told you how it was. That was the best part of the whole night on Friday was Jim Lampley back at it, back behind the mic. Man, that was amazing.
I just wish he
missed
had
it.
better fights to commentate.
Yeah, that's a shame.
What did he say?
Well, it was just he was just calling out for what it was. He's like, who would have thought this would have produced a snooze fest?
Yeah.
He was just he's like,
They're
man,
big names.
Haney's gonna need a
Big names
baseball bat, these
That's awesome.
great one-liners.
Yeah.
But it's a shame that you grab Jim Lampley back. Hopefully we get to see him again. And
That's
and
another
for
goat
a
right
dud,
there.
it was sad. It was sad. He
Lamps.
was the best part of the night.
Yeah.
Almost like you're right. The first Jim Lampley showing in a long time, right? Since HBO boxing.
Yeah.
And this is what you give him.
Yeah.
To talk
He's
about.
seen everything.
Everything. Yeah. At
He's
the
seen
highest
everything at
level.
the highest
in
level.
the glory days.
And he called it all. He called it
He
all.
called Chavez Medrick Taylor.
Yeah, he called all the big fights, and it's
You know what
like,
I mean?
man, now you're giving this.
And the last time Foreman, it's embedded in my mind. Foreman when he won his heavyweight title, just the cadence of when that happened, the way he said it.
He's up
Nobody
there
does
with-
it better than Lamps.
He's up there with Jimmy Lennon Jr. as being the voices of boxing.
Yeah.
One of the voices of boxing.
right.
The classic voices.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just disappointment that they had to talk, like they had to be there for those fights. He had to be there
How
for
did the
those
fights look at it was hard for me to tell just from the social media stuff I was looking at online, but you guys saw the fights. How did the whole Times Square thing play out?
So I wanted to ask you about it because I was trying to again figure out what would cause such a crazy night, but like how much of a factor is it fighting outside, let alone in front of skyscrapers? Like, do you think that like
How many fights did you have outside, James? I know Coney Island was one.
Yeah. What else? When I fought Nelson outside, I think I only had 2 fights outside.
Did you ever fight outside Caesars?
No. I fought Azuma Nelson outside in Vegas, and then I fought Coney Island with Camacho. No,
Yeah,
Camacho.
So what do you think about like? So what do you think?
you don't see anything. You're not. You're so focused.
You're so locked in.
You don't
It's-
even know.
it's-
I think
it's
the
a
hard
fight.
part, the harder part was that the crowd was small and that
Yeah.
they were saying, "I hear everything. I hear this
You
guy's
can hear a
training."
mouse fart.
And you're hearing people talk and critique you because
The-
it's almost like sparring. It's
Yeah.
almost like sparring.
But you know what's weird about that? There's so much traffic going.
Yeah, you can
It
hear the
was weird.
honking.
It
You
was
can hear the
weird.
police
It was
sirens.
traffic.
on Times
Now,
Square.
imagine these
That's
guys.
kind of cool though.
They have it
Yeah, I
blocked off,
guess.
kind of. It
was
small.
great,
I heard it was on the big
So
screen.
you know how
too.
you have
That's
walk-in,
awesome.
you have walk-in. The fighters walk out.
Right.
You know they have their music. These guys were in cars. They were getting stuck in traffic.
Wow.
Ryan
They-
Garcia
they-
got
they-
driven.
Rolly Romero
Batmobile.
walked to from the hotel to the ring. It was just
I don't know. I don't understand that part of it because there's things you could do to close it down. And,
Even though they had police escorts and all that, but still, it's like, oh, this guy's in traffic and he's sitting in the back seat with his gloves on like that.
Did anybody get walked in by Spider-Man and the Statue of Liberty?
So,
and
Ryan Garcia-
the
Ryan
naked
Garcia-
guy, the naked guy.
No, Ryan Garcia got he put up in the Batmobile.
The Batmobile. That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
I saw that. Yeah, that was cool.
But I
Right.
mean, it's all a spectacle. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, we want to see some boxing.
You want it-
You know
You
what I
can't blame Turkey for it though because he put it there. He
Yeah.
made it as grand as it was, and
Yeah.
it was. A shame.
But we're only talking about that. Everything was bad because the fights were bad.
Yeah,
If the
right.
fights would have turned out great, we would have said, well, what a great night, great crowd.
Inoue and Ramon Cardenas belonged on that stage because
Yes.
Look what they did with what they had in Vegas. They were in Vegas.
It
Another
was a
top
super
line.
weekend for boxing, man. Think about that.
I mean, it could have been if Ramon Cardenas does not show up to fight Inoue and put up that kind of response to the pressure of that fight, we're talking about a big blowout weekend for boxing, like like a big flat tire.
And shout out to him too for being from San Antonio and
Representing
being on that
well.
stage and
He represented well.
yeah, and it was unbelievable, man. It's nice to see your own people do it
Definitely.
on the biggest stage possible.
Definitely. And Ramon's, our paths have crossed before, or a long time ago, many years ago. He was in the gym helping out Raul Martinez, spar and all that. So we were aware of what Ramon can do. You know what I mean? As many people in San Antonio were aware. This guy was not just
Yeah, he's not.
He's not a
It wasn't
pushover.
his first time.
Yeah.
It wasn't his first time fighting like that.
like they were calling him a Lyft driver, and he was not. Like from San Antonio, if you're from San Antonio, you kind of knew. He had fights here at Techport, couple
Yeah,
fights here at Techport.
But this is his first big fight.
This is the
Yeah.
biggest fight.
And we knew. I mean, his timing is unbelievable. His obviously, if you saw the fight, his hook has dynamite on it.
From the very beginning,
People from San Antonio knew the styles made sense for that fight.
from the very beginning, when he's coming up with a high guard coming in, I'm thinking, okay, he's not
ready to counter.
He's ready to counter. He is not intimidated by Inoue. He's not trying to get away.
He
He's
looked
not-
like the heavy hitter in that ring.
Exactly.
And Inoue his power didn't seem.
One thing that I knew about Ramon is that he always spars against big guys. So I didn't think. I mean, Inoue can hit hard. You have smarter gloves, but this guy is used to fighting some big guys in the ring and sparring. He's sparring 135 pounders, 140 pounders. He spars everybody. So I knew that he could take a punch because he's always sparring with bigger guys, and that wasn't going to bother him as much. And it didn't show that it bothered him.
Yeah.
Well, he got dropped and stuff, but he was able to take that.
He was saying it was the overwhelming punches. It
Right.
wasn't the power
Yeah,
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his power, like you were saying, you're right. His
seemed like
power
the
seemed
heavy-
to,
the heavy hitter.
Inoue seemed to be getting rocked a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Like whenever landed punches,
Especially body shots. Like a few body shots will land. You just see that energy just kind of.
Yeah.
Then the whole thing about this, like we were saying, is you got to kill the king, right? There's a lot of ways to kill the king. You can make the king seem human, and that's what Cardenas did.
Yeah.
He didn't win, but he made him seem human. He can put him down.
He won.
can
I
be
think he
hurt.
won. He won the week. I mean the weekend.
Definitely.
Well, he earned a lot, right? His stature just.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So what's next for him? What do you think?
And so great question. we're gonna leave me.
Michael Miller.
Perfect.
Congrats.
Michael Miller.
Shout out Michael Miller.
Nice.
He's our family attorney. Michael Miller, good family friend, forever. Right. He's
He's a great guy, man.
He's Ramon Cardenas' manager.
Nice.
In the post fight presser, they asked Ramon. So it's kind of hard to say when your next title fight is going to be because Inoue's undisputed. He's unified, so he has all the belts. So where do you go from here? Great question, right? And even Ramon was saying that's a great question. I don't know. You got to kind of ask my manager and my manager and my promoter. You gotta see what they have planned for me and all that. And it's tough. That's a weird spot because he earned so much respect that this past weekend. Earned so much respect great chin, good product, right? He just blew himself up. But now where do you go? You know,
Do you run it again, that same fight?
So here's the thing. For me, in my opinion, just my humble opinion, you run it back. The whole end, because that's what the fans would want to see. You just gave Inoue the hardest fight of his career. I want to see that again. I want to see what Ramon Cardenas comes in having had these rounds with Inoue. Now, the whole thing is, does he pull a Mario Barrios, right? Where Barrios got dropped against Abel Ramos on the Mike Tyson Jake Paul undercard, right? Abel Ramos gave him a great. It was a draw. I think it was a draw.
I think it was
wasn't
a draw.
It ended up being a draw. This same situation, Barrios is picking a guy who he believes maybe is underneath his skill level, and he overperforms. Drops Barrios, gives him a hard fight. That fight's not happening again. He's going to Pacquiao. There's bigger fish to fry, right? Inoue and Ramon Cardenas, potential fight of the year. It's a fight of the year candidate, right? Do you run it back, what the fans want, or do you go over here?
If I'm Inoue's manager, I'm saying nah, just stay away from him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Inoue don't want, and there's no, and plus he did stop him. He did stop him in the 8th, so that's his argument right there.
Yeah.
But again, it's just, I think next time they get in the ring,
it's gonna be the
Inoue will get.
yeah.
Would
I
get
think
dropped
too
again.
is Ramon could go up in weight too.
I was thinking the
challenge
same
the
thing.
125 pounder, maybe even the 130 pounder because he has enough power and fulton.
I was thinking
Remember,
the
he's
same thing.
always sparring heavier guys.
I say
so
fight the
those weights
guys
aren't gonna
that
bother
fight
him.
the guys that Inoue beat, like the Neary, the Fultons.
Yeah.
You know, fight those guys.
But there's no titles there.
There's no
There's
titles there.
titles there, but there's
But you know, build that name that's already growing.
you're making your case.
And then exactly, just prove that you belong. He already did that. But
Yeah.
and then move up. I think he can move up and, and still
I think he
compete.
can move up easy and win I think he can win a title at 25 more than at 30, but he can win a title at 125.
Him and Figueroa.
That'd be great.
That'd be a great fight.
That'd be a good test. That'd be a good like.
Ooh, man.
Yeah,
It's Figueroa's 125, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good.
that'd be a great fight.
Yeah.
And to have a fight here in Texas
That
somewhere.
almost makes sense. It almost makes sense because Brandon's kind of on this like losing streak a little bit. I mean, coming off a loss against Fulton, and it would be a good fight, for both camps. I think it'd be a good performance on both. That's a good one. That's a good like little potential fight.
At 125, though.
Bring it here.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That was the whole thing that I was thinking about. I was watching that and I was like, man, if Ramon wins this fight, the next fight's here in San Antonio. How could it not be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's unified now. If he wins that fight, he has every belt.
Yeah.
He'd have been the most accomplished San Antonio fighter ever.
Yeah.
Being with that win, you know what I mean? Like on paper,
It's just so hard, man, to get big fights back here in San Antonio.
that would have been it right there. He was.
I hope so, but
I'd say if that bell doesn't ring at the second round, he has 30 more seconds. He's
been way
unified.
different.
He's unified.
yeah, just the business has changed a lot. It's all going to Vegas or it's overseas, man.
Mm-hmm.
It just big fights here in the States
That
or
Turkey guy is paying a lot of money.
turkeys.
Turkeys.
Yeah, no, but he's paying a lot of money, and it's just so hard. I was having a conversation with Lesser, and a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, I mean the big fights are just not. Again, we're in a period in time in this boxing business where it's not like it was a year ago, even 2 years ago. So right now, it's either going to Vegas, some other casino, Times Square, a spectacle, or it's going
La Vida.
overseas.
And now they're like what we're
Pégale
saying.
la panza.
And now like what we're saying, they're experimenting with different locations, right? So you never know. It would be hard to get a big one back here.
Put him on the
Would
moon.
be, but-
Put him on the moon.
But if they're listening, man, hey, Leija Bata Promotions, man, is ready to promote that fight if they're wanting to make it happen.
We're ready to make it happen.
That'd be a good one to go. Maybe we could reach out to Mike, get him and Ramon on here.
We'll talk to
You
Mike.
know,
Talk
see
to
how
Mike.
he felt. Think about the mentality you got to have going into that weekend, right? Knowing you're fighting the number one fighter in the world, not even at your weight class, number one pound for pound fighter in the world, and you almost are thinking you're having how could you not have a identity crisis? How could you not say like, am I supposed to be here? Like, like you're on that level, and you're just automatically on that level and perform the way you did. That guy has to be so mentally strong.
Yeah.
He's a Harlandale product. Harlandale High School, right?
Yeah. Man, think about the guys that come from Harlandale have done well.
It's a lot.
There's
They're
Castillo.
fighters out there, man.
Who is Raymond Midell?
Raul Martinez,
Raul Martinez. Myself.
you,
Who else?
Ramon Cardenas.
Ramon. My cousin Louis.
It's because
Leija.
you're fighting your way through the lunch line just to get it.
Yeah, you
Gotta
know.
fight your way
Did
in.
Mexican
to school and out of
Elvis go to Harlandale or no?
school. I don't think so.
No, he didn't.
Shout out Harlandale High School.
Harlem High School
Yeah,
produces some
man.
fighters.
Some
That's
real
awesome.
That's why we
fighters.
fought in the hallways all the
Through
time.
the generations. You know, it's not even just one generation. It's through the
It's a
generation.
bunch of people coming out of Harlem High School, Southside.
Yeah.
Shout
Southside
out.
products. You know,
No, I
shaking
mean-
up the world.
Yeah. I mean, I was going into this weekend, of course I was caught up in my whole thing, Fiesta, but you guys, the only thing I was capturing was just on social media what was happening. But I mean, you're right. This could have been either way a pivotal weekend for boxing, professional boxing. Had every one of those nights had
Oh, my God,
spectacular
yeah, man.
fights. Like it would have
Just
been the perfect storm.
Besides the Ramon fight, and anyway, just one more fight would have been great. But they were all duds.
Yeah,
They were all duds.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
You catch that tall Mexican that fought right before him?
Yeah.
Man, that guy was a bad dude.
Yeah, he's a good fighter.
Yeah,
But he fought so close. I didn't
Yeah,
understand that.
because he didn't care about the guy's power, but he was getting touched. But I
But
guess
he fights
he must
like
not have
what's
cared.
the other the tall guy out of
Fundora?
California,
Fundora.
Fundora. He fights. They look alike.
Well,
They're the same height.
they asked. I don't know his name, so I'm gonna call him the Mexican guy.
Yeah.
They asked him, you're right there with Inoue. You've called him out. He said, "What would that be like?" And obviously, he probably needs to earn that, but that'd be a fun matchup just because of the styles.
Jeez.
But that guy was impressive.
Well, how tall was he? 6'5" or 6'4"? 6'6".
He's tall. I don't know.
8'6".
Yeah, I mean, he's fighting the guy who's probably 5'2", so he looks taller than he is.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's tall. He's got the height on him.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm trying to look up the guy's name. I put on here, tall Mexican guy. I don't have my
That's
glasses
about
to
right.
say anything. We'll find out. Yeah. That's what I would have done.
No,
Nothing.
tall Mexican guy.
Who popped up?
How did that pop up?
Who popped up?
I don't
An
know.
even taller guy.
We should probably ask Siri.
When you're in an auto accident, you shouldn't be concerned with legal runarounds, just real advice. You deserve an attorney ready to work for you, an attorney that won't back down.
I've lost loved ones due to the negligence of others. If you or a loved one has been injured in an auto accident, I want to be there for you.
Raul B. Rodriguez and his team care about ensuring you and your family are represented, whether on the road or in the workplace. Raul is real, and Raul won't back down. Call 210-899-0300 to schedule a free consultation.
Well, anyway, I mean, but it could have been just a pivotal weekend for.
I mean, give credit to Turkey. He's setting him up. They're just not hitting the home run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had it out. Man, I'm just telling you, these guys, you would never think that all 4 fights, the 3 fights in New York and Canelo fight would all be duds.
I
You
knew
would
it, though.
never
That's
think
why I didn't
that.
watch him.
They were terrible.
You
You knew it?
I knew it.
And the fight that was set up to quote unquote be a dud, calling them a Lyft driver and all that was the fight of the potential fight of the year.
Right.
You
It's
know?
always that way. Something like that, right?
And
The
you know what?
underdog.
It's like what we were saying on one of our previous podcasts. It's San Antonio.
Yeah.
It's something about San Antonio that's just weird with fights. You know what I mean? Being in San Antonio, if you have a fight here or just from San Antonio, you're just you're a weird one. It's an outlier. There's just something in San Antonio water that just I don't know. It just it doesn't go along with the plan. You know. It never
So
goes along
so
with the
looking forward, what are some of the big fights that are happening, and then what are some of the fights you would like to see?
plan. I almost don't even want to get my hopes up anymore.
But Bam never lets the people down.
Yeah.
Bam in
Bam just-
July
yeah,
29th.
Bam
I mean,
fights.
July 19th. I don't really know who he's fighting. I just can't remember the name at the moment. But
The former, I think
I mean,
he's a champion.
yeah,
I think he's a champion.
I know he's a bad dude. But man, he's just a different animal. I love watching him fight. He's my favorite fighter.
Yeah,
so.
Bam makes things look easy.
Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't be easy.
The whole thing
Bam's
about it
bad.
is
Poetic. He makes it look poetic.
there's a lot of similarities between like a Ramon Cardenas and a Bam. Bam, of course, being more elevated, but Ramon Cardenas, it's that letting the fight come to me and figure out what's gonna happen. Taking
Calm, very
being
calm,
calm
yeah.
in a hard situation, tough situations, as he's proven. There was a guy at our gym who came up to me this past week before all this boxing happened, and he said, "Y'all kind of teach like the Japanese style of boxing." And it didn't dawn on me. I'm not familiar with it, but when I started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, it is kind of calm. Like the guys who we've emulated. Like for me and my personal opinion, like Jorge Linares is one of the best fighters in my opinion. Right, spend a lot of time in Japan, like picking things up there. and very, very just doing the basics right. You know what I mean? Setting your foundation right. Bam Rodriguez, basics, right? There's things that are special about him, but the things that he's doing are basic but special. You know, angles, just being right on your footwork, throwing the right punch at the right time, not bombarding him with stupid punches.
Not trying to go for the knockout. You know, like it's a slow.
It
death.
presents itself.
It's a slow.
You know?
It's a slow death.
It's like a death by 1,000 like cuts or whatever. You know what I mean? It's kind of that approach to it, where we don't look for the knockout. It approaches itself, right? Yeah. It's like a flower. Like you don't force it to blossom. It'll blossom when it's ready, and it kind of happens that way. That's kind of the way we teach boxing. You know what I mean? So when we see a Ramon Cardenas or we see Bam Rodriguez, we're like, oh, we know what good is because we see it. You know what I mean? And we're trying to teach that, and that's not, you know, I wouldn't say that's not common in San Antonio. There's a lot of pure Mexican fighters that just want to come forward and they just want to power you. You know what I mean? And there has to be a brain in there. And these two guys who represent San Antonio have that. You know what I mean? Not everyone that fights from San Antonio has that. These two guys do.
You don't have to get hit to win fights.
Right.
You know?
No,
These guys don't. I mean, Ramon, just great fight, great defense. Wasn't getting hit much at all at the beginning.
And we've gone to his last couple of fights here, so we've seen this. It's not just based off this one fight.
Yeah, that's what people may say. Oh, this guy, I've never heard of this guy. He's been around for a long time. I forgot what he turned pro at 17. Maybe I forgot. But
he wasn't even here when he turned pro. I think they took him
to Mexico.
Mexico,
Yeah, but he's been around for a long time.
When did Mike Miller get him? He got him a while back, didn't he?
Yeah, he's been a few years. Yeah, but he's just been fighting out of Texas and just different
Was
places.
there a moment in time during this past fight with Cardenas where you thought, man, he just might be able to pull it off?
Oh yeah, when he dropped him, I thought, man, that fight.
I don't think he was gonna get up
because he caught him clean. I thought he's done. When he hit, I said he's out. But he got. I mean, anyways, that's what I call it. He's just a great fighter. He got up within 2 seconds.
The whole thing about this is
most guys wouldn't get up.
Yeah, most guys wouldn't get up, or they'd be shook.
Yeah,
and you look at Inoue, and he's.
Yeah, he was calm, like immediately. He got dropped. He looked at the ref and just. Boom, he was just calm
and
again.
He's on the brink of losing everything. Every belt that he's had is going to go to Ramon Cardenas if he doesn't get up. He got up at 9.
Wow.
Was it 9?
He stood on his knees.
He stayed down, but he was just composing himself and just looking at the ref saying, I'm ready.
Which is the right thing to do when you get
you don't want to get up right
away because then you got to start right away. You take the count as long as you can. But, man, he just...
And then from there, he didn't make a mistake.
Yeah.
And that makes him more dangerous because now the next guy who fights him is saying...
It's kind of like Floyd. When Floyd got caught with Shea Mosley's punch in the second round also. Almost twice. Almost went down. He didn't make a mistake after that. He only got sharper.
And think about it. Mayweather got caught and had the wherewithal to hold.
Yeah, to hold the right hand that he got hit with.
Think about that.
Yeah.
You're rocked. You're
Yeah, he's
You know
out.
what I mean?
He's out. The
That
right hand that hits
reaction.
you, he's out, and then something in his brain just said, hold on to it.
And this is a guy who apparently doesn't take a lot of punches, having the wherewithal to do that.
Yeah. Right.
Composure.
But I believe
you
he's
just
training
see,
for it.
You see levels of like that in boxing.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad we had that fight because that fight was needed on a Sunday where Saturday and Friday sucked.
Saturday, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the bar was extremely low. But again, even if my bar was high, that fight exceeded it all.
Yeah.
The bar at your house or the bar?
Both.
I definitely hope Ramon Cardenas is getting everything that he deserves right now because
For sure.
that's not an easy thing.
That's awesome.
Mentally,
His future is bright.
yeah.
His
And like they
future is
always say,
bright.
you know, it takes 10 years to become an overnight sensation.
Yeah.
Or to become a, you know what I mean? Like people are just seeing this, but you know, he's been around. It's not like
Well, I'm sure Mike is going to make the right decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Collectively, they will make the right decisions, right? He's going to steer them in the right direction. Here are your opportunities. That's exciting to see that, man. That's
one thing that I would like, you know, my personal opinion for anybody who's watching I would definitely like to see these guys, especially Ramon Cardenas with what he's accomplished this past weekend, go put boots on the ground. Go speak to schools, you know, make your presence felt here in the city. You know what I mean? It's not just all on social media, but like go to these things, like go to do community work. You know, that goes such a long way from in your city. You know what I mean? You're from Harlandale High. He's from Harlandale High School, local, you know, public school, like public high school. Go talk, like go inspire.
The last thing, bless you.
Sorry.
Got it out.
Yeah.
There we go.
We can edit that out, right?
The last thing we want is for someone like Ramon to come back, you know, with the fight of his life, and him not be recognized by the people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And even Bam, as great as he is, he's the top 10 pound for pound fighter. I think. Again, I don't feel like he's not getting recognized. He's not getting the credit he deserves, and from his own people.
And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they want
maybe
that.
Yeah. Again, they don't need it.
Maybe he wants to be able to walk down the street.
Yeah, exactly. And talking to him a few times, I feel like that's his personality. But again, I think there's a lot more good that can be done using your platform and taking advantage of giving back. You have the platform for it.
Like, think about this, like, just on what we're doing, right? Like, there's people that watch this and I get reached out to about just the voice we have and the impact we're making if it's one person at a time. And it's just us, right? Like, obviously he's made a big impact in his life, like our father. But we're trying to do that as well. We're trying to follow suit, right? You can only imagine if we had a platform like that, the amount of people we would try to hit, the amount of good we'd try to do. And
the fact that my dad's getting recognized by like 80-year-old women. I'm like, that's never even seen a boxing match in their lives. Like that, and still, like, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me.
It's building your brand, right? And showing everybody what your brand's about. It's not just fighting. It's what, the Spurs. It's not just winning. Coach Pop. It's not just winning. It's what.
Right.
There's foundational roots here that people can apply and learn from and move and dedicate their life to. Being intentional with your movement. Ramon just had a great weekend, overcoming everything that he had to probably overcome mentally.
Yeah.
What did you do for that? Like, talk about that. All these little things, and it's just my humble opinion of maybe I would like to see that here in San Antonio primarily. We're from here. I wouldn't like it to just be him, where he's making that impact, and that's great, good for our family. But you would like to see somebody else follow suit and do that as well.
Pick up the mantle, the flag, carry it a little bit.
Carry that flag.
Just, do something a little bit different. I mean, Bam, we've had him before. Just dynamite guy. Cardinals would be great to get him.
Hearing Ramon talk, I mean, I've never talked to him before, but in the interview, like, he's very well spoken. He's, you could tell he's very smart. And I think that personality alone, again, I don't know him, but my assumption is that he has the personality to go and speak to schools and, to
inspire.
Yeah, to inspire people,
Hear that, Ramon?
One of my things when I was with Lester.
Who?
Lester, when he signed me up, he said, "James, you may never." There was when he was going to sign me up as a manager in 1988. He said, "James, you may never make it in boxing. You may never win a world title. You may never become anything. Or you may, because boxing is such anything can happen." It was, but if you have a good character and you do good things in the city, maybe if boxing doesn't work for you, somebody will hire you because of the person that you are. And, I'm a good guy anyways, but so throughout my career, I don't know how many schools, 50-something schools, or if not more, in San Antonio, we go and talk to schools and hospitals and just anywhere, just made my face present everywhere. And it worked. But now, the thing is, I see people like James said earlier, 80-year-old ladies or whatever coming up to me and say, "Hi, Mr. Leija, how you doing? Nice to see you." They don't watch boxing. They don't know me through boxing. They know me through what I've done in the city.
Your social engagement out
my
there.
Engagements, and to me that means more to me because I know it's not my fighting, it's my character.
And imagine if you didn't do it. We probably what the future would have looked completely different.
Well, there's a lot of civic pride.
And on top of that, Popovich.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm so proud of is that he wears my shirt all the time.
Yeah.
He wears one of my shirts all the time.
No, he didn't wear your shirt. He made a shirt he made it personally, like a picture of you.
Yeah,
wow.
But it's when he was with the Wimby, when he was with the when they were gonna get Wimby for the draft, right?
The draft where they drafted Wimby.
They were in the room
in the
war room, and he's wearing my shirt. I forget the last one that just happened, he's wearing my shirt
for voting.
They were doing like a voting campaign.
The voting campaign.
That's
so
awesome.
Everyone's in all the Spurs are in a black shirt, matching shirt, and Pop's the only one in a white shirt with his face on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And to me, it's just like, come on. That's kind of one of my you made it when that's happening. Not my world titles, but when someone like Popovich is wearing your shirt and like, wow. And the guy that I know that knows him well is friends with him. He said, "It's not by accident, James. It's not by accident." I'm like,
that's pretty cool.
And that's how you lay those. That's how you make that cultural impact.
Yeah.
And again, they I'm not assuming they watch it, but they could be watching this right now and saying, "Yeah, but we want to be known worldwide." Great, but where are you loved?
Yeah, no, I mean,
right?
listen,
where are you going to find your love?
There's civic pride about giving back to your community. And not to say they're not. But just
They might
taking a
be,
page,
you know?
just taking a page of what your dad did. I remember just as you were talking, flashbacks on my head of whether it's schools, some kind of big civic event that was happening here. There was either a Spurs player or the Coyote, and your dad would be there. I mean, it was like that.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So many times.
And who's that now?
And
That's what
they
we're
would
saying,
call.
you know?
People would call all the time, saying, "Hey, man, I know you know James really well. Can you help him, or can you help us try to get him to do this and do that?" I called James. 9 times out of 10, he'd say yes. You know, you were there doing
Well,
it.
I shared that picture the other day. Someone sent it to me.
Yeah.
With George Bush and you and I.
Governor Bush.
We're going around helping him with this.
Yeah. Well,
campaign.
he had wanted to, and your dad is very doesn't do a lot of political stuff in front of the camera, but we had been asked to, and we'll show the picture here in a second, but your dad had been asked. We had met a lady who was in charge, wonderful lady, Doodle Urban, who our buddy Jeff Webster introduced us to. And she was in charge of the Republican party here in Bexar County. And it was a quick introduction, but just a beautiful lady, understanding all her history, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't a political conversation. It was just meeting somebody. But then she reached out a few months later. She says, "Hey, George is going to open up, George Bush, he was running for governor, is going to open up the very first West Side office because he really wants to make a difference in the Hispanic community. That's a big part of his platform. And we're going to open it up on Culebra Road." It's right down from St. Mary's, man. And she says, "Do you think you could help me ask Jesse James, if he could be there to kind of help open this up? He doesn't need to say anything political, just ribbon cutting, be there, blah, blah." So I called your dad, and he said, "Of course, yeah, let's do that." Because it was important at the time to open up that field office on the west side. No Republican has ever done that, and no Republican gubernatorial candidate has done that since. It's just FYI. But he did it, made a big impact. I mean, we had hundreds of people show up to this thing to get a bunch of free stuff, whatever. But I remember George had his quick introduction, and he was wonderful and gracious, as notoriously he's known for being that.
Very nice guy.
Very nice guy. So much, W. So much so that on big fights, he was calling your dad before the fight or after the fight.
Yeah.
Right? Even when he was president.
Even when he was president, he always sent us a Christmas card just to let us know he was thinking of us.
Yeah.
Remember that, right?
Yeah.
What a classy move, But you hear that a lot about the Bushes. They're always like that. Their Christmas list is insane.
I bet.
But anyway, that was kind of
That
cool.
office is a Pizza Hut now, right?
No, I think it's a Taqueria Jalisco. No, I don't know what it is right now. Ace. But no, it was a moment in time. But the point is that there is civic pride in these folks, and your dad opened up the door for that, beautifully opened up the door for it, set the foundation. So I hope that some of these guys want to do it. I do know, though, if you want to see Bam, what I do is I'll go down and I love coffee, so he's bragged on our podcast about his favorite, 8-ball coffee.
Yeah.
So
That was on the Express News.
Just before I got here,
did you go there?
our guy Angelo from New York.
Yeah.
He messaged me. He said, "Hey man, is any way Bam, or you can get a hold of Bam, or I'll send some to you too." But he's like, "I want to send him a care package of coffee beans."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I saw that thing he did on Matchroom." So I want to send him a care package of coffee.
He's making his own coffee.
Find a way to do it. Yeah.
Well, 8-ball coffee, man. Bam is apparently there every day. But they do make, shout out to them, man. They do make a mean coffee, and you can get the Bam special. And that's usually what I get when I get there. It's
I gotta
really
try it.
good.
I haven't tried it yet.
That'll wake you up.
You've tried it before.
I did?
Yeah, you've had it before. Yeah.
It's good, and good people down there too.
Yeah.
Do you remember doing the George Bush face on the news?
Oh, man, I forgot about it. Yeah. He said,
was
you
good.
did it on the news.
Yeah, he did on the news. Yeah,
He
I
told
remember
me
that.
What did you do?
He did he did his impression of what George
My
Bush
face isn't
looks
as
like.
chubby anymore, so I can't do it. But I'll squeeze my face like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good.
I was
As
like,
a-
how
On
old was
KSAT. On
he?
KSAT.
Around
okay.
KSAT 12. How old was he? He must have been.
I was what 23.
5 or 6.
Yeah, I
No,
was like 5.
he was older than
I was
that.
He was
probably
older than that?
6, 7.
Yeah.
7, 8,
Pretty
7, 8,
funny.
7, 8. So we last week we had a new pope
Yeah.
that just got elected. What do you know about this guy? First American pope.
First,
Before we get out of here.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Man, like
You
you
didn't do your
guys,
homework on
man.
this guy or what?
No, nope.
You didn't watch
Nope.
tape?
Nope.
You didn't watch
nope.
film?
Nope, didn't watch the tape on him. No, I was actually going with these guys in Italy. Man, we had our own fantasy league thing kind of going on the Pope.
wow.
Oh.
And
put money down, or
so
put any-
so whoever rubles. So whoever picked this guy, they won themselves a good amount of money. But from Chicago, and they're already in Chicago. They're already saying the Father, the Son, the Bears.
The Bears.
You can already hear the prayers of
Bears.
that going on there. But
So when does
anyhow,
Michael Jordan become a Cardinal? Is what I want to know.
Yeah. So
He
so
might
here's
make
the
him
question: How many people are in the?
130, I believe.
33.
133.
Now
Is
there's
that
132.
every
They
pope
got to get
in that?
another.
Is that every
Cardinal.
cardinal there that and people just pick
Under
from all the
80. There's more Cardinals, but they're over 80 and they can't vote. So man, that
So,
stinks,
like-
right? You're like you're 79 and a half, and
don't
then
get a
all of a
say.
sudden,
It's like
man,
Squid Games almost.
Or like the
so
next
it's like,
day,
so
right?
say there's 130 popes, right? How many are there?
Total popes. I think there's been 240
Okay,
something.
and the only and how do you get picked to be one of those 80? You said.
Well, no, there's the
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
There's a combine, a draft combine.
yeah. I
They have to exercise. They have to like.
They
do
test your
something like
vertical.
push-ups.
Yeah, no, I mean, these are just folks that kind of ascend, and either as a bishop and
They
an
literally
archbishop, and then they go to cardinal,
levitate.
and,
Yeah.
and then they get assigned to different posts throughout the world.
Yeah, but
Levitate,
I
and
understand.
they
Like
hit
what
the
I meant was like, how do you know? Like, if you're a cardinal, I vote you in. And,
Yes.
And see if anyone else votes you in.
Yes.
And it just keeps going to see
Yeah.
who has the most votes.
Can
Yeah.
someone pay their way in there?
I don't think so, Dean. I don't think that. I don't think that
I'm
Catholic
sorry.
Church does that.
No, they don't do that.
Who knows?
But yeah, but anyway, but no,
That's good. I'm glad they got that. I'm finally. Well,
Yeah,
in
America.
America,
America.
pretty
That's
good.
awesome. That is
American.
very
Speak
nice.
Spanish.
Very nice.
Spent time in Peru. Spanish, Italian, and
Pope
Cubs
Leo.
fan. The Bears.
Pope
the
Leo,
The
14.
Bears.
Pope Leo the 14th. The Bears.
Real quick, just a probably last question. Fiesta just wrapped up. What's your go-to Fiesta plate or Fiesta item that you want to buy and you want to eat? What's like, okay, Fiesta's coming up. I need to eat this.
Man, let me tell you, chicken on a stick.
That's a
Right.
given, yeah.
That- for me, that's a good. But I know when we went to the Military Monday, you weren't there this past time. You had some family stuff going on, but went there Military Monday, and our Consejo brothers, they had their annual tripa tacos, and a lot of people order them. I walked by there, I took a whiff of that. I was like, I ain't doing that. No way.
Nope. They
No
keep the seasoning
way,
in there,
no
if you know
how.
what I mean.
Boy, howdy. They got other stuff in there.
I like when we go to King William's, the funnel cake. That's
Ooh.
Funnel
that's
cake.
my cheat.
Who doesn't love funnel cake?
You know,
man?
it's just so good.
What about you?
I think I had said last time we had talked about that. I had said like the egg roll in Chinatown at
Nyosa.
And
at
they
Nyosa.
Who would
I
have
heard
thunk it? But it's a
someone
damn
talked
good
about that.
egg
Yeah,
roll.
someone was talking
They're
about
good.
Yeah,
Chicken
they're
how
good.
the egg rolls
yes.
was. That was someone's favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, now you see everybody doing chicken on a stick.
Yeah.
You see chicken on a stick a lot of places now.
I had so at our garden party for the Consejo organization, the caterer came out southerly with their own version of chicken on a stick. It was quail on a stick, and it was really good.
Was it good?
Oh,
that sounds like
man,
a taste of
crust
the north
was-
side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard that thing was expensive to
They
get
sound
into.
like $300 tickets, something like that.
Yeah,
Something like
I
that.
mean, and a lot of people went because it was over at the Rock. It's a new place, probably a great spot for it.
How fiesta is it though?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't, right? No.
It's like you're at the Spurs game and you can sit at the top where the guys who are screaming
Like to party?
like the party, and then there's the front row where
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
you never know. You
Yeah,
know what I
you
mean?
never
Like,
know, but I mean, but if you could do Fiesta for those people that are, not from San Antonio, you do Fiesta. I think it's Market Square.
Yeah. Downtown.
During the
King
day.
William.
During the
During
day. During the day. During church hours.
Well, I mean, you can go in the evening, man, if you really want to explore.
Yeah.
But King William Street Fair for sure, right? That's a
That's
go-to.
always fun, yeah.
Nyosa. There's some
Nyosa.
cool things.
the
And
whole
the
thing.
parades.
The whole thing about it is like now that fiesta's wrapped up,
2025 Fiesta's wrapped up. I didn't get to do a whole lot, right, with the newborn. Really didn't get to do a whole lot this year.
Next year, Odette's going to be like all over the joint, right?
What could we do? Like, you know,
You could do everything.
As a
All
foundation.
those,
No, as a foundation.
Oh,
what can
well-
we do? Like, what that's the thought now,
Yeah.
right, for this next year. We have a whole year. So,
Yeah.
you know, what could we do with that? You know what I mean? Who could we hit? What could we sponsor? Anything.
We need
you
to
know?
make an impact, man. And,
Yeah, we
and
should.
I
We
think
need
it's
to
that
do it.
time.
We try to do a float.
maybe a floating. Maybe we get a lot
Get
of
some
folks that
sponsors and get
are
a float.
very open folks that
Can we record a podcast on the float, Jason? Sorry. Can we record a podcast on the float? Yeah.
well,
No, that'd be cool.
yeah. It
That'd
would
be
just
interesting.
be
You see us floating down, we're talking like this.
We're not even looking at anything.
We're not looking at
right?
anything going on. We're just here.
I know, no, man. Everybody's booing us because we're not paying attention. But Dean knows when we walk the parade route, it's
Man,
So imagine your walkout from your locker room to the ring. How that loud pop is, and you just see faces, right? But you're trying to focus in because I got business, man, right? But you still see people there. This is. I can't tell you how many times that, especially the night parade. Holy smokes, man! It's you know, there's a few 100,000 people down there throughout 3 miles, and they're screaming and they want something.
man, they go crazy for those medals.
But
man.
remember, I was Grand Marshal for the River Parade
That's
and for
right.
the
Battle Flowers.
Battle Flowers. Grand Marshal.
The march.
Yeah. Yeah. those are-
And a judge at the River Parade.
Yeah, 2
You
years in a
judged
row.
really
I
well.
think it was 2 years in a row.
I saw you up there on the stage, Arneson
it
River
was
Theater.
fun.
I said,
That
"All
was
right,
fun.
man."
You're up there too this year.
Dean was with us.
Ooh, I thought Yessie
Shout out
Ames.
to the Cavaliers.
Cavaliers.
They do a nice
They
job.
do a great job.
Great hosts.
So many great people in the Cavaliers. I mean, everyone there is so friendly, and they're giving back to the city. And that's the important thing. We're giving back to the city.
And that's what Fiesta's all about. It's all
Yep.
about giving
Yep.
back. So, yeah, we need to think about what we want to do. And, you know, maybe our viewers can suggest something that maybe we could do during Fiesta
We can
time,
open up
right?
a
We do
chicken
have
on a
our
stick stand.
nonprofit
Yeah.
Leija Family Foundation that supports
We should get a
mental health
booth
programs.
in Nyosa. There's a little booth there, and just hang out. Don't even sell anything. Just hang out. Just talk. $1 to have a conversation.
One ticket gets you a talk.
A talk.
You know.
Taco.
A taco.
Or get an egg roll.
Yeah. Definitely.
Those egg rolls are awesome. God, now you got me thinking egg roll. Egg roll?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can get chicken on a stick anywhere here. Where you can get a good egg roll?
You can't get chicken on a stick anywhere, just about.
Yeah.
Where?
Right now they have them at Soluna. They have chicken on sticks at Soluna.
Did you try 'em?
it?
Yeah, it was really good.
Really?
Really good. They were missing the little bread on top, but that's all right. I'll forgive them.
Do they have the bun and a jalapeno on it?
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. They missed the bun.
Yeah.
Will they have a tortilla?
No, they didn't put anything. Again, like I said, it's the first time they're doing it, so that's all right. They'll
They got
figure it
room
out.
to go up.
Yeah,
They
it was
have to
very good. That
improve.
chicken though was unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, that Fiesta was fun.
Mm.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, we were on baby mode.
Yeah.
for the Fiesta.
Yeah, that was a
So
tough
next
one.
year
I feel
we'll
like
hit it
was
hard next year.
Yeah, next year it'll be
Yeah.
different.
We were a little preoccupied with this one, and me having my daughter Odette weeks before Fiesta.
Yeah.
2 weeks before Fiesta, so it was kind of tough.
So the next baby, you gotta plan out the Fiesta part. Not like
Yeah,
the
that's
birth, at
priority.
least 2 months before or 2 months after.
Yeah, that's my priority right now.
Yeah.
Look at the calendar.
Yeah, I gotta plan it out. No, I'm officially done. I'm done with kids right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Right now.
Hey,
As of right now.
I respect it.
Yeah. Not to get too personal, but
Others might have another plan.
yeah. Not to get too personal though. You had the twins. How old were you?
I was 42.
Well, interesting. So you had there's hope. There's always an open door. You know what I mean? You never know.
You're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying it works after 42?
Yeah.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Yeah.
Before we get out
Más
of
o
here,
menos.
before we get out of here, not to rush it or anything like that, but how do we think about the previous episode that came out with Omar Figueroa? It was a really good one. It was good
Oh,
mental health.
man.
That was a
Yes.
powerful.
You know, if you haven't seen the last podcast that we shot with Omar Figueroa that just came out, definitely give that a good watch. That's a good mental health focused episode. You can definitely see in him that it's just he's on his journey. You know what I mean?
He's on a journey.
He's doing the mental work.
Yeah.
That was a great one. It was very powerful. That was one of my favorite ones.
He opened up a lot. He held nothing back. Like I felt we could have asked him anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Open book.
Just
and
Because the book's
just
open. He's reading it right now.
He's a good guy.
good man.
guy.
You could tell. Just, you know, just a good guy. I know the family. You know, spending time working down in the Rio Grande Valley. And not intimately, like I know you guys, but I know of them, and just to hear him, you know, the love he has for his brother and his sister, it's awesome.
Definitely.
It's awesome to see.
And it's, if anything, I hope this podcast is kind of exposing some of the fighter mentalities and how you know, it's not just what you see in the ring or the octagon. It's also, there's a lot of emotions going on in fighters outside of what you may know, you know, and they're just like everybody else, right? Like, they're human. They kind of go above and beyond when they enter that ring. They're somebody else, but when they get out of it, they're human, just like us. And
but I also feel that episode, James, was really revealing for a lot of people that might think they know someone in their family that might have some kind of mental struggles going on, or maybe dealing with something, but also for parents that might suspect something, but they don't know. This is a great episode to just watch and learn.
Yeah.
You know?
With an open mind. You
With
always
an
have
open
to,
mind.
You know, I would say, you know, don't go into anything, right? Don't go into anything with such a closed mind, because then, like I always tell my clients at the gym, don't come in with a full glass, because then what am I for?
Yeah.
Leave me some room to pour, right? Like to give you what I'm gonna give, right?
It's like a fighter who knows it all.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Why are you here then?
Yeah.
Why am I training you?
And it's like Bruce Lee said, right? Empty your mind and be formless, shapeless like water, right? It's like, empty your mind so we can fill it up. What's the point of you coming in here with your mind full? Leave your shit at the door. Any struggles you may have coming in, leave it at the door so we can make this a good experience. Why are you here if you're going to worry about everything?
Yeah.
Right? Like little things like that. But yeah, it's a good episode to learn from, you know, just to hear another person's perspective. A guy who has no reason to lie to you. He has no ulterior motive. You know what I mean? It's just him sharing his story, his experience, and we just get what we get from it. You know, and I think that's what I like to do here as well. But I'm glad that this podcast is working as a platform for that. You know, to kind of reveal that screen that people may put up and just be like, well, you know, we're human too. We think about things too. I got so many comments and so much feedback from the episode we did with our wives, where it was one of those things where it's like, oh, well, you know, I had no idea y'all did this. I had no idea y'all were like this, you know. And it's interesting because we don't really talk much, you know, as a family. Like, we don't, you know, people don't know our wives that much, but it's interesting when we kind of show them that and how relatable people seem to be to it, you know, how relatable it is. We're human too, you know, we're families, we're like family like any other. But it's interesting to see how like the feedback was for that. Good. You know, we got to have
they were all naturals.
Yeah, exactly. We got to do it again. That would be a good one, you know. Maybe the next one, who knows? At some point we got to
maybe just turn it loose and let them do it. An entire episode.
I don't know how that would go.
Yeah.
I don't know how that goes.
You think it goes off the rails? I don't think so.
No, I don't think it goes off the rails. I think it's just more of
I think it'd be pretty funny, actually.
Yeah. You never know. Who knows? Maybe, I mean, this show has no end in sight. We got to go to season 3 at some point, so who knows?
Yeah.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us here on this episode. We know we covered a lot. We talked about a lot. We have a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in the world. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you got anything from this podcast that you think anybody else could learn from, or any interesting feedback that you would give us, please let us know. Share this podcast. We're growing in numbers. If you have a business that you may want to have us sponsor or sponsor us or have us promote, please reach out to us. Leave us some comments, you know, see who you would want to be on this show next. Any topics you might want us to cover. We're open for it all.
We'll get the Pope.
You know, I think we have a Pope plug.
Yeah,
So,
maybe so. Hey, and don't forget, if you're involved in an auto accident, call the law offices of Raul B. Rodriguez, because Raul
is real.
is real.
See you next time, guys.